Tech Cocktail Sessions, educational and inspirational talks from experienced startup founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders.
First off, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. Sure. And I know you've been super busy doing some things right around town here. But just was trying to think, when was the first time I was thinking of a tech cocktail week in the past, and it was probably like our 5th or 6th time doing these weeks and bringing folks together. And I was walking to I was in a llama parade at the time to a baseball game from downtown, and was talking to some of the folks that were there, and all of a sudden started talking to somebody I hadn't met before, and talking about, oh yeah, I'm just stopping through, was coming from China, we have a business. I'm thinking, oh, this is a crazy story, and just checking out Vegas just on the way, and we're talking and walking. He's like, what do you think about the area, blah, 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 and I totally forgot about it. And and then I'm pretty sure that was you.
It was. I think it was me.
I think unless there was some
I'm not
other
very memorable. But
well, no, you were. But it was one of those things. There's a llama, and I couldn't get my
the llama
it
draws
was
your
overload.
attention.
Yeah,
for
totally.
Sure. Yeah.
I was right behind him. So I was trying to think. Was that you? Was you? And confirms that right now. So and then literally a month or so later, you guys were here.
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks actually.
Wow.
And so we started the business over in China. My background's been over in Asia, and so it's my 3rd company, and Danielle and I have done all 3 together. And so we started the company over there in 2011.
Wow.
Business was growing really well, and we focus on helping independent small business owners, mainly with their inventory, and so grouping them together so that they can compete against the big box retailers and have some buying power. And then about 3 or 4 years after we got started, our business really started growing here in the States with brands and distributors here, partners like co-ops and franchises that we work with. And so we realized we needed to move back to America and really grow the business on this side of the ocean. We were going to San Francisco at the very last minute. Literally, our bags were packed a week before we left to San Francisco. A friend of ours we met through a TechCrunch, Sarah Lacey, said, hey, have you seen Vegas? Yep. So we came. That was the week we met you there, going to the llama, the baseball game. And Danielle and I look at each other after 3 or 4 days here, and we say, we really should be in Vegas. And so we called our team, changed our tickets, and we all came to Vegas.
That memorable conversation.
It was you.
Yeah, right. No, so that's obviously, we're excited to have you here, and you've obviously made an impact quickly, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's talk about starting up. And I know, obviously starting up is not easy, starting any kind of business. You've done a few now. And you started this one in China. And were there any, additional challenges there, or, to start a company in China that,
Yeah, sure. I mean, China's definitely a different world from the U.S. Different culture, different language.
We can look
yeah,
that
you can
up.
see, you're actually focused. I was right there, right below
Oh,
Shanghai.
I see it.
That was me. Yeah, it's
Is
a
it
long.
Hangzhou?
Yeah, Hangzhou.
Hangzhou.
Yeah, it was a long way away.
Yeah, so we can look where it is. And
yeah, the problem with China was I'm from Dallas originally, and so I would fly for years since 2001 from Dallas to Chicago, then to China, Dallas to LA, then China. And the year we moved back here, American Airlines says, "Okay, we're direct Dallas to China." I was like, "Thanks," but it was very different. Startup culture in China is different. There's a different culture, risk adverse, and some things. Education style is very different. But as an entrepreneur, no matter where you start the business, you definitely have similar challenges. And one thing that China teaches you, China is very much about relationships and building those relationships. And as any company and a startup, it's all about the relationships you build, relationships with your team, relationships with your customers, relationships with investors, telling your story. And so I think one thing that China is really good at is helping entrepreneurs realize that the business is really about those relationships that you build.
Right.
Yeah.
And so culturally, compare China to Las Vegas. What's the biggest?
Yeah, it's there's a lot different. What's funny is some of our Chinese colleagues, they come to visit us here, and my joke I play on them is the first night they land, they're all jet lagged, they're tired, and I walk them down Fremont Street there, and they're like, "This is America." like yes, every street in America is like Fremont Street.
This is Main Street, USA.
Main Street, USA.
Yep.
And so no, Vegas is different. When you come back after being overseas for so long, you have culture shock, reverse culture shock, and so it's weird because China felt like home. America definitely feels like home, but you don't feel home either place. And so it's definitely a different place to be, but it was great timing. We actually have our first baby. And so that was a great thing. Yeah, he was born about 6 months ago. Wow. And so that was great. And so raising a kid here in the U.S. is great. Pollution's a lot better over. There's not the pollution, not those things, but we still love China a lot.
Definitely. I like your boots, by the way.
Thank you. I got them from the Zappos pop-up store.
Oh, wow.
There's a really funny story around it. They were sitting there, and I saw them. There's about 500 shoes back in the back, and I saw these boots, and I'm from Texas, and they got the Longhorn on it.
Nice.
And I asked, I said, has anybody bought these yet? And they're like, no. I was like, okay, I'm going to buy them. I had my other shoes on, so I grabbed them, and I bought them, and I walked out the back door, because I was parked in employee parking in the back.
Right.
And the security guard there, he didn't know who I was. And he looked at me, and he looked at me again, and I said, thanks, man, found me some good cowboy boots. And I walked out the door, and he was like halfway tempted to like tackle me.
Right.
And he didn't. And the next day I come there, he's like, dude, I had no idea who you were. I did not know you bought these shoes. I literally was going to tackle you. And the last minute I looked behind me, and someone's like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Don't do
tackle
that. He goes, I literally was going to tackle you. That guy saved you. And
wow.
so that would have been pretty memorable.
That would have been really memorable.
Yeah,
but you got them. I was starting to think mine are kind of boring. But I do have, I just remembered, I've got Sasquatch socks because I'm from Illinois.
We got Longhorns, you got Sasquatch.
They don't really have those, but I just, there's no connection between the two. But that's fine. I saw a movie about Bigfoot once. So anyway, so that definitely some cultural differences. Was it hard to adjust? I mean, it sounds like you had spent a lot of time in China and then came back here. Was it hard to adjust, over there starting the business? Were there different kinds of things you had to do?
Oh, sure. Yeah. The regulations, the government,
Yeah.
you go to the bank, you have to fill out the same paperwork 15 times. You make one wrong move with your character, you got to rewrite everything. And so there's definitely some hurdles you have to jump through. There's also a lot of gray that you operate with. So, U.S. is very black and white, very contract, black and white. China, there's a huge amount of gray that you operate in. And so definitely a different place, and we enjoy the culture over there, enjoy the people, and have a lot of good friends there.
Do you speak the language?
So my story of how I ended up to China is really interesting. I was about 12 years old. I was in Dallas. I was really sick in a hospital, really badly sick. My grandfather brought me a lot of books, and one of the books happened to be about China.
Oh.
And I fell in love with it. I kept telling my family, I want to go to China, I want to go to China. They thought I was absolutely nuts. I got out of the hospital. My grandfather's a preacher. After church on Sunday, he takes me to Chinese buffet. He said, do you like the food? I said, I hate it.
Oh.
He goes, why do you want to go to China?
Right.
And so we traveled to Disneyland once and took a plane ride, and they go, what'd you think? I said, I hate flying. They go, China's a very long way away. Why do you want to go to China?
Yeah.
And I turned 18, and my family's all entrepreneurs, small business owners, and they set me down and said, okay, it's time to make something of yourself. Get out of here. What do you want to do? I said, I want to go to China. And so they bought me a plane ticket and shipped me over there.
Nice.
I guess I can't figure out if they were trying to help me or get rid of
you.
Yeah.
Well, that was the last time we saw him. So.
Yeah. So I studied international relations, studied in China. I went to school in Middlebury for Mandarin.
Right.
And then I was going toward government work, and government's not the most entrepreneurial place to be. And so I sold everything I had and took off to China to start my first business. And so that was kind of how I started.
That's pretty awesome. And you've been there, you were there for a while. I mean.
Yeah, 2001 is when I went over. So
wow. Awesome. All right. So, and aside from that, you started a couple different businesses with your wife. So you work together pretty closely. Yeah, my first business was really successful. I mean, we made good money, but really what happened was I was in China looking for the first business to start, and I had this whole notebook of all the ideas that I had. Right. A laundry mat for Chinese university students. The guys didn't want to wash their own clothes, so we were going to do that. I had all these other things. And during a holiday, one of my friends took me down to his family's factory and went in there, and they sold handbags. And I was wearing literally my camouflage hunting jacket. I had my Texas Longhorns hat on, and I took a picture holding all these handbags. And I sent it back to my mom, and I said, Mom, I'm going to start a purse business. I'm going to sell purses. And she thought I was nuts, first of all, first off, you go to China.
Yeah.
Secondly, now you come back.
Selling purses.
Yeah, sell purses.
And I'm wearing a camouflage and a Longhorn hat. She's like, no girl's going to buy purses from me. I said, but Mom, it's perfect. I'm 23, 24. I'm single. All my customers are going to be girls, so I can meet a girlfriend. And so it was very successful. I met Danielle, my wife, there. Selling purses. I was selling handbags. She needed a purse. Yeah. And we met there, and we started working together, and then we started dating. About a month after we started dating, I told her, I set her down and said, honey, I got to go back to China. And she was finishing up her last year of college. Yeah. And I said, I'm sorry, I got to go. And she says, well, I'd love to go with you, but I can't, And I said, well, let's wait till spring break. I'll take you on spring break. I'll try to wait. And she said, okay. This is about January time. Yeah. The next week, we went back to the same coffee shop. I said, Danielle, I can't wait. I'm really sorry. I have to go. Yeah. These purses got problems. I got to go fix the problems in China. And I jokingly said, but you can come with me. And she looks at me. She says, okay. And so she calls her mom, Dad, I'm dropping out of college. I'm going to China with Jonathan. Oh. And her parents actually were supportive, which is interesting. But I guess both of our parents were trying to get rid of us. And we got on a plane the next week, and we took off to China together.
Wow.
And so we began working together, and she started buying, and she picked out a lot better handbags than I did. And so the business went much better.
Wow, that's great. That's awesome. And so then that was your first business. You've started a couple others. Now you've got OrderWithMe. What was the second business? I'm curious.
The second business was, so my first business was import-export trade. I had my own retail stores.
Yeah.
And my second business was funded out of that one. And my second passion was technology. And so I started a technology company in China for the domestic market. It was an educational software. It was actually a virtual world, a virtual game. The Chinese government shut me down. It was called, my fault. It was my fault.
Surprising.
It's to help the Chinese students before they came to America to study. I made a mistake. I called it American Dreams, you know, and then it got political. And I started with the government. Said, well, it's all your kids that are going to America anyway. Why should you have a problem? And cause all kinds of storm. And so licensed to a Chinese company. And then after that, looking for the next thing to do. And our background was really helping small businesses doing inventory, purchasing inventory, things like that, technology. So we said, why don't we use technology to aggregate all these independent small businesses so that they could have better buying power, because not every girl in Abilene, Texas wants to carry a mustard handbag, but I had to buy 100 from the factory. So if I grouped us all together, then we could share inventory. So that was my my third company.
And that's what you're doing.
That's what we're doing now.
And it's going pretty well.
Yeah, we're very, very, very blessed. So we have a lot of great. We're in the bicycle industry, working with the bike shops. We're in bakeries, working with bakeries. We have children's furniture. We have service industries, and so it's been a great business, and we've been very blessed.
And so how has it been? We talked to a lot of different founders, and a couple here and there work with their partners, and I do as well. And so I'm curious on how do you balance, raising a family now, building a business, making, decisions, and then just, supporting each other throughout the whole process?
Yeah, work-life balance is really difficult, even if you work with your spouse. And even if you do, that makes work-life balance even sometimes more difficult. Because we're around each other all the time. We talk shop all the time. And so, but I think for us, it's definitely a different kind of relationship. I've took a little bit of time to realize how we work well together, but I know very well now what she's very good at and what I'm not. She knows what I'm good at and that she can improve. And so we really take those and focus on those aspects of the company. At sometimes when new people come in, it's a little interesting saying husband and wife team, how does this work? We have a great dynamic. I think we're a family business. Our customers are all family businesses. And so if you don't want to work for a family business, you don't want to support family businesses or you want to know how to act to those customers. And so it helps. And then we have a old motel here downtown. We converted an office space.
Very cool.
So when Jake was born, we created one of those rooms to be a nursery. And so every morning we get the two dogs. They load up in our car. Jake gets in the car. Wife gets in the car. We all go to work together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's been pretty fun.
And if I remember, those two dogs were from China.
Yeah, Ping and Sesame. So we had an office. The Chinese dogs. We had an office in China. I have an office in China, and we were sitting there, and there was a guard dog. And it was the guard dog, not because she barked, but because she was just the guard's dog, and she laid there all day long. She got pregnant, had puppies. When she had puppies, she unfortunately she died. She got hit by a car, and then there were these puppies there. And so we adopted the puppies. In the office, we were on the first floor. Other Chinese from other companies above us would come down. They would visit Ping and Sesame and his brothers and feed them. And then one day, right before a holiday, kind of like our Thanksgiving, somebody looks and said, didn't know we were understanding what they were saying, but they said, oh, it's just about time. They'll be good, just about time. And so they were fattening them up. They were kind of the eating dogs. And so we saved them. We took them home. A few months later, we came back to America, brought them to America with us. And they are the smartest dogs because we got here. 2 days after we got here, they dug into her backpack and they found our passports and they chewed up our passports. And they were like, do not take us back. Thank you. And so, yeah, that's great.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the latest stuff you're doing. You closed a huge round of funding here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've also just launched the a partnership with Zappos, working to launch the pop-up shop and ShopWithMe, and another brand offshoot. That's part of OrderWithMe.
Sure.
Can you tell us a little bit? How do you with all that stuff you're doing, how do you find the right fit, for the different people you're hiring and things like that with the same core values and everything?
Yeah, so I think ShopWithMe is this new product that we've started. A lot of our customers, we help them with inventory. So we help them buy their inventory. So we have manufacturers, brands, distributors, and retailers, and they're all moving inventory back and forth. Our retailers came to us and said, you're helping us buy our inventory, but we have all this inventory that we want you to help us sell it because our point of sale, our e-commerce are not connected. And the biggest thing that we want to solve is the challenge of that inventory. And for an independent retailer, inventory is one of the biggest costs and the biggest risks they have.
Right.
And so how many times do you go into a shoe store and you say, hey, do you have that in size 10.5 in blue? And they say, no, and you walk out the door and leave.
Right.
And so we created this ShopWithMe solution is a mobile app. It's also a terminal, sort of like a kiosk. It has other parts to it where you can walk up, you can scan the product. It shows you what's in stock in the store. You can also choose other attributes, sizes, colors you want. And if it's not in the store, you can still make the purchase right there. The store gets credit for it, and then we route it out to be drop shipped to you the next day.
Got it.
And so Zappos came along, and when Tony saw what we were doing, they said, this works great for independent businesses. The online guys are all trying to go brick and mortar. And so brick and mortar are trying to bring technology in store. Online are trying to go brick and mortar. And so it worked for them as well because they were thinking how to go brick and mortar, don't want to have a whole lot of inventory. And so the focus was we were doing this new product, but how do you not take away from your core business? And how do you not distract yourself? And so I sat down with Danielle and I sat down with one of our colleagues, Greg, and I said, here's what Greg calls my nuclear toaster idea. This is a piece of hardware. And I said, this is what I want to do. And, they're our common sense czars in the company. They keep me grounded. And so they asked me how much money I'm going to spend and how much of my time it's going to take and what are we going to do for team. And so I said, this is how much money I'm going to spend, very, reasonable amount. And I'm going to take 10% of my time for the next 3 months.
Okay.
And only 10% of my time. And here are the resources in the company they're going to dedicate their point of time. And we went out and built the prototypes, built the first thing. It worked really great, and that's how we got the partnership with Zappos to open the first one. So it's really focusing in on making sure that you don't forsake your core as you're going out and doing R&D, trying to find what might the next thing. But as an entrepreneur, you have to go, it's my nature to figure out what the next thing is to create.
Right.
But I got to keep myself in those guardrails to make sure it's definitely.
And then how did you, just in your team, how many people do you have now on your team?
Close to 40 now.
Okay. So how do you find that talent that's kind of aligns with you're moving 1,000,000 miles an hour to do these new things and, but also sticking with your core values and making sure that everything's kind of in sync?
Yeah, back to relationships, people are everything in the company. And so I've been very fortunate that I have people in our team that have been through me with all 3 companies. Oh, okay. And so they've stuck with me, and those are kind of some of our core team that we start things together, and they're great. As we're building the team, it's finding people that share the same values, values internally as a family as we are, and look at our team as a family, finding values externally, which is to help and support those small independent businesses. And then, sometimes you make the wrong decisions on hires. It took me a long time to realize that you have to sometimes let people go, right? That's a really hard thing to do. Yeah. And so we really focus first on not growing too fast, but making absolutely sure that we hire the right person. Right. Because we don't want to get in a situation where we hire the wrong, and having the wrong person can be worse than having nobody.
It's not fun, yeah.
No,
not a fun situation. Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like you're doing a lot of different things. You gave your 10% to do the pop-up concept. And then, so how do you manage with all the tasks that you're doing? So you're not overburdened with, all these different, you got 40 people that are probably questioning what to do next. Yeah, you gotta hire people that you trust, that you can, let them know, they know what they're good at, you know what they're good at, and you let them run. So for example, our VP of Technology, Josh Newman, we sat down and talked about the ShopWithMe idea, and he looks at me, he goes, okay, cool, so when do we need what's the plan? And we said, well, we want to do the prototype this long. He goes, really? Okay. And then next he's like, and then we'll have a little time. I was like, well, then Zappos wants to open a store by this date. Wow. And we did the whole thing about 6 months, from hardware all the way through software, the whole piece of it. And for me, it's like we could have never executed that if I didn't share the vision with Josh and let him go off and do it, right? And not micromanage, not look over his shoulder. And so it's hiring really great people that you really trust and letting them do what they're good at. Great. And what if they do something wrong? Well, I've done a lot wrong. My wife lets me know every day, and so I got to be, have grace for them as much as they have for me. And it's a learning experience. You're never going to get something right 100% of the time, and we're all learning along. I think it's mostly that we're all, trying to execute to the best vision we can and fulfill our core purpose. Yeah. Okay. And so we talked a lot about how you came about with the ShopWithMe stuff already, but let's just dive in. So how did how did that connection come? So you were sharing this already with Tony. I mean, they're an investor in your latest round. How did that all happen? Yeah. So what happened was, Tony and them, and Fred, and Tony and Fred and those guys, they're great, and they looked at our core business, OrderWithMe, and about a year and a half ago, it was after we moved here. So we actually committed to move here ever before an investment. Right. All of our core customers are independent businesses and their suppliers. Right. The one place they come every year is Vegas. Right. So it makes good sense. And the other thing is China's
booming, growing, a little bit of crazy.
Yeah.
Downtown Vegas is booming, going a little bit of crazy, and so we figured we could fit in. And so we got to know each other. They liked our core business. They understood what it was like as a startup to manage all these suppliers, these inventory, these purchase orders, these payments is what we do. And so they invested in our core business about a year and a half ago. That business is growing very well.
Yeah.
And then one day Tony and Fred were coming in to chat, and I said, I want to show you something.
Yeah.
And I took them into a room in our little hotel there that was a motel, hotel, and the little motel, and I had a fake little shoe store that we were using as demo.
Nice.
And I said, I want to show you what we think the future is of retail. And I walked them in there and showed them what we thought the future of retail is. And they kind of look at each other. I can't decide what they're going to say.
Yeah.
And it was a secret project. And then when Tony found out about it, there were about 50 people in the first week that came by to see it.
Oh, wow.
And so, which is great because it gave us a lot of good advice from people that he knew to tell us, hey, what do they think and things like that. And kind of went from there. So it was great. Yeah.
So is it a secret room in your motel?
It is a secret. It still exists.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is a secret room.
Interesting.
It's, the Uptown Motel.
Awesome. Okay, and so then you said it took 6 months, or how long did it take? 6 weeks?
Yeah, no, 6 months.
Okay.
So it was a hardware project, and
So,
so we brought in a project manager from MIT that came in and built robotics companies. All of our hardware team came from Sony before.
Wow.
And so it goes out there and trying to find the best people and saying, this is the vision, and really executing it.
Yeah.
And then our software team that we have locally, and then we started working with another team that I've known for 3 or 4 years now out of San Diego.
Yeah.
About 10 guys that do UX design and development. Told them about the vision. They really believed in it. They've been working with our previous company, and they jumped all in. So we they actually all moved to Vegas here.
Wow.
Yeah, so
from San Diego.
Yeah, from San Diego.
Wow.
And so they gave up the ocean for Fremont Street.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's close. It's still close by. It's close by.
So yeah.
But then is the actual shop itself? were you managing that whole build out and everything, or how did that all?
Yeah, one thing we think about online retailers that there's a lot of questions about how do you go brick and mortar. They're all trying to.
Yeah.
They don't innately inside the company have that experience. So brick and mortar is a very different experience. Some of them do, but the other thing is we literally were looking at doing it at the Container Park, and then we kind of looked around, and the Western was sitting there.
Right.
And it's a 20,000 square foot space.
Right.
And I'm like, that's cool. And Tony's like, that's cool. And Danielle's like, are y'all crazy? And so the problem was that Life is Beautiful was coming at the end of October.
Right.
We wanted to open the store for the holidays before Thanksgiving. So we had 16 days to open a 20,000 square foot store out of a blank space. So from the wall built out to the floor to the lighting to the merchandising to the product. We had great help from some of the Zappos team that was helping us with merchandising products. And then we went for the full build out.
Wow.
Yeah. And if that wasn't enough, giving back to the downtown community is a big thing on our heart. And so we looked at the 20,000 square foot store, and then next to it's a 20,000 square foot parking lot. And I've been in China for so long, I missed Christmas. And so we built a Winter Wonderland. And so we have a snow hill. The kids can go 13 feet, 14 feet high. You can go down. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Ice skating rink, and Santa Claus comes every night, 50-foot Christmas tree.
See him,
And we wanted to really give back to the community, and there's some charity aspects to that too.
And there's trees, there's hot chocolate, the whole experience.
Yeah,
movies.
exactly. There's a movie screen up there, the lights on the wall, go to the movies. And so it's a great family experience for the holidays. And so we had about 16 days to pull off the outdoor plus the indoor. And so I hadn't slept in a while, but it's been going well.
Awesome. Congrats on that. It looks great. All right. So we'll bring it back here to Vegas for a second. So you moved here, you've done all this stuff. What surprised you most about the move in the Vegas community in general?
Yeah, the Vegas community's been really supportive, and so we looked at San Francisco, of course. We looked at back to Dallas, Austin, Chicago, Boston, a lot of different places. Yeah. Vegas made a lot of sense for our core business to be here. It also makes sense because of the community here, and so we found a great community. And having a company like Zappos being here is great, and then having the startup scene here has also been wonderful. And so for us, it was really trying to plug into that community and to be able to give back to the community, learn as much as we can. And so we've definitely liked being here as the best choice that we made, and so excited to see the company grow, us grow as a family here, and so it's a good place.
Congrats again. And the funding just happened a little bit ago. Was that a hard process doing it from here? I'm curious.
I'm one of those people that believe that if you have a great company, you can fund anywhere.
Right.
And to me, our investors have always been people that really believed in our business, and we've been very fortunate that our investors are entrepreneurs or have been entrepreneurs themselves. And so they're very much, you hear founder friendly, but they very much are, they know that I know this business very well, and they're very supportive, and they do everything they can to help.
Right.
But they definitely are the type of people that really said, hey, you're doing great, executing it, here and run with it. And the other thing, I'll tell you the one thing I've learned about Vegas, and just honestly, from the startup community here, is that when some of the startups move here, especially seed stage,
Yeah.
so this is my one piece of advice for Vegas, it can be distracting,
Yeah.
right? When you move to Vegas for the first
Yeah,
time, you got
definitely.
lots of places to go, lots of social events,
Yep.
lots of places to go out and drink and have fun. And what will happen sometimes is you wake up, you have a short runway of a seed investment. You wake up 3 months later, you're like, man, I know everybody, I've networked great. And you look at your results of your business, you're like, oh
Didn't
crap,
happen.
yeah. And you go out and try to say, well, I need some more money. We're like, well, what did you do so far?
Right.
And so I think the key thing is, no matter where you are, is to network, meet people involved in events like this and everything. But at the end of the day, remember, it's about building that
Focus,
business,
yeah.
and you got to prove what you're doing is actually needs to be something the world needs.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense.